Okay, hello, welcome to IQ Mindware. I'm Dr. Mark Ashton Smith. I'm going to briefly introduce myself in this short video today. So I am what's called a translational cognitive neuroscientist. Translational psychology is defined here by the American Psychological Association. Beyond health-related matters, psychology enjoys fantastic translation in areas such as human factors, education, organizational behavior, decision-making, environmental design, and social influence. So I take lab-based research and translate that research into practical interventions for augmenting intelligence. So this is the focus of IQ Mindware is interventions and cognitive coaching for augmenting general intelligence. So what is intelligence? The American Psychological Association defines it as the ability to derive information, learn from experience, adapt to the environment, understand and correctly utilize thought and reason. Now, the position that we take at IQ Mindware is intelligence is not some genetically hardwired talent that you either have or you don't. The evidence is very, very clear that intelligence is actually trainable. So I want to offer a different perspective to the notion of cognitive elites based on genetic talent. And there is some literature in the popular press on this idea of the cognitive elite. Here's an article from The Economist, The Rise and Rise of the Cognitive Elite. Steeper ladders, narrower gates, cognitive partitioning through education and occupations will continue, and there is not much that the government or anyone else can do about it. Economics will be the main reason. At the same time that elite colleges and professional schools are turning out brighter and brighter graduates, the value of intelligence in the marketplace is rising. Wages earned by people in high IQ occupations have pulled away from the wages in low IQ occupations, and differences in education cannot explain most of this change. So this is a position that IQ Mindware certainly is challenging. Here's a report from the World Economic Forum, the Future of Jobs Report 2020. It identifies the share of companies surveyed who identify the relative importance of different skill groups in the economy, looking forward ahead for the next decade. So you can see that critical thinking and analysis and problem solving that are central in general intelligence are very highly rated in importance here. Similarly, technology use and development. Interestingly, self-management, which relates to executive functioning, which is also trained in our general intelligence interventions, is also highly rated as having importance. So we focus on these highly valuable skills, and we argue that these skills are accessible to everyone, not just a cognitive elite with certain genetic talents. So a little bit about my background. I was trained in the Center for the Neural Basis of Cognition, a joint Carnegie Mellon and University of Pittsburgh program. And the mission of this program is to advance world-class, highly integrative research on the neural basis of cognition and to train the next generation of leaders who can skillfully integrate brain and behavior. So I applied this training in the development of the app interventions. My supervisor at the time in the lab I worked in was Walter Schneider. Walter Schneider's research focuses on mapping the functional and anatomical network structure of the brain using various methods to kind of characterize the superhighways of information processing in the brain and how they change with experience and learning. And Schneider has done a lot of work on working memory interventions more recently, and I continue with that tradition from the Center for the Neural Basis of Cognition and the work that individuals like Walter Schneider have been doing. This is one of my early publications with Walter Schneider, Neurobiology of Attention and Automaticity. And you can see I've continued with this kind of research. You can see there the GFocus app that I released a few years ago as a cognitive intervention. So there's a direct continuity with these foundations that were built, years ago, back in the late 90s, when I was working at the Center of Neural Basis of Cognition. After that, I have worked as a lecturer and researcher for a number of years at the University of Cambridge in the Department of Psychology. And it was during this period that I devised many of the ideas underlying the cognitive intervention apps that are implemented in IQ Mindware. So for the apps that I develop, there are certain constraints or certain areas of evidence that I always make sure that I keep track of. One is the research on the psychometrics of IQ. We're looking at IQ testing and results from psychometric testing, and the kind of analysis that's done there statistically to identify different types of underlying factors of intelligence. 2, cognitive neuroscience, specifically brain network research. And I develop a lot of the ideas based on that research. 3, general cognitive theories like Carl Friston's free energy principle, ideas of predictive coding, ideas of control versus automatic processing, and so on. These are all general level, deep theory in cognitive psychology. Neuropsychology, this is a study of brain damage, neurodegenerative diseases, abnormal development, abnormal cognitive functioning, and I use information from this research to help constrain the development of the IQ apps. 5, intelligence-related interventions. There is already a literature on working memory training and attention training and IQ training, and I make sure I'm up to date with this research to guide the latest sorts of releases of apps and experimental ideas for new developments with the software. And 6, research using our own apps. Okay, so we gather data from our own app usage and are continually evolving the apps to perform better, to produce, to deliver better outcomes. Okay, so I hope that introduction was helpful to you. I would recommend, if you haven't already done so, to visit my website, iqmindware.com. And on that website, you can subscribe to a customized group, for example, professionals or organizations, biohackers, athletes, test takers, and so on. So you can have a look at the various groups that you can subscribe to, and there's customized content available through those subscriptions that you can't access on YouTube. So I'd recommend you do that to keep up with the material that's being released as it's released. Thank you very much, and I hope you will continue connecting with these services.